Over the weekend, one could argue the biggest story was illegal aliens being rounded up and sent back. You could probably make a good case. That was the big story over the weekend. With that in mind, we had Tom Homan, who sat down with Marsha Raddatz over at ABC, and she gets made to look like a fool. Then you had J.D. Vance sat down with Margaret Brennan over on Meet the Face. Sam, is it called Meet the Face?
I think you're right.
It is. I think it's pretty much it could be Face the Nation or Meet the Press, something like that. I mean, I think I'm just going to call it Meet the Face. And she is made to look a fool. In fact, she brings up lowering costs and tries to get him with a gotcha question. And I've got two videos up on social media. One from last night, just about 500,000 views from last night on TikTok. It's my second pinned video. Or the first pinned video is only from about 2 hours ago, where Selena Gomez freaks out about immigration. So we're going to have both of those for you coming up. Go check them out now. If you want to see it on TikTok, it's Joe Pags. Over on Instagram, it's Joe Talk Show. On YouTube, Joe Talk Show. On X, Joe Talk Show. And again, thanks for joining us today. President Trump speaking even as we started the show. This is going to be just a couple of minutes ago. I rewound the live a little bit so we can get some context. He is, in fact, talking about illegal immigration.
Even if it didn't show that, I would have loved that chart, because that chart, I wouldn't be here right now without that particular chart. But it was pretty amazing. It was really amazing. And we did a great job. We had the week I left office, we had the lowest number of illegal immigrants coming into our country that we ever had. Simultaneously, we must make a record investment in interior enforcement, including deportation flights and aircraft, as well as funding for our new task force to eradicate the presence of foreign gangs. We have some of the worst foreign gangs. It's not even believable. And criminal networks that have brought devastating crime to American soil. We're getting them all out. I won on that, It's like some people explain it very well. They say, gee whiz, they look at the people. As you know, in Colombia, they agreed with us almost immediately after I got involved. And Marco Rubio and I worked together. He did a great job. And we really did. And Mike Waltz, we have a great group of people. But we were...
I want to pause there for a second. And the reason why I want to pause is because many of you saw this story over the weekend. The Colombian president thought he had leverage. See, here's the problem with so-called world leaders. They got fat and happy on Biden. They figured we could do anything we want and push the United States around. And they weren't wrong. For 4 years, they could. So I don't know if you remember back in the first Trump term, the Northern Triangle, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador all said, we're not taking back I think Guatemala was the first one. They said, we're not going to take back your planes of our citizens. And they actually, in one of the countries, and again, I think it was Guatemala, they put trucks on the tarmac on the runway so that our planes couldn't land. And President Trump got word, and he said, okay, how much do we send you in aid every year? Oh, okay, we're just going to cut that off. In seconds, it seemed. The trucks were gone, and please send the planes back. Well, what happened over the weekend was this idiot in Colombia, and he seems like a real loser. This guy in Colombia decided, we're not going to take back your flights. We're turning them away. We're not taking them. And Trump, in a matter of, I think, 6 minutes, made the guy overturn what he said, because we're taking away all visas to anybody from Colombia. We're going to add a 50% or a 25% tariff on all goods from Colombia. He just went down the list of what we're going to do. And the guy genuflected in 6 minutes. Now he called Trump some names. He acted like he was a tough guy. Nobody wants to visit the United States anyway, some crap like that. Well, we have all of these people from Colombia in this country. Idiots like Ana Navarro over on The View said things like, well, most of our roses come from Colombia. Oh, my God. What do we do without the roses? Let's keep the gang members. How stupid is that? It just doesn't make any sense. Gang members or roses? I'll lose the roses as long as we can lose the gang members. There is no argument for why Colombia thought it had any leg to stand on. We have more leverage over every single country on this planet than anybody else. And Trump knows that. And he uses that, and he got it done very quickly. I want to get back to what he's talking about because, again, this is moments ago. And he's speaking from his Miami Doral golf course, but he's speaking to the Congressional Institute. So basically members of Congress and those who want to know the inner workings or are involved in the inner workings of Congress. This is a very important audience for him.
Because we had them in shackles in an airplane, and he said, This is no way to treat people. Now, you understand, these are murderers, drug lords, gang members, just the toughest people you've ever met or seen. How would you like to be the pilot of a plane? You got two pilots up there, and you got 300 people sitting in a plane. Every one of them either a murderer, a drug lord, a kingpin of some kind, the head of the mob, or a gang member. And you're flying that plane. It's not going to end well. Do you ever see the movie Con Air? That's what, yeah. Except here's the difference. The people in Con Air were actors. They weren't nearly as tough as these guys. I would say that that plane would be gone before it ever left. Those pilots would be gone before it ever left. So they don't want us to shackle them. I don't want to be in that plane. I want to thank every Republican House member for voting to pass the Lake and Riley Act, the first enforcement only bill that's been passed in 3 decades. I met the parents of Lakin, and they were incredible people. They were just so devastated. I mean, can't even explain to you. You can't say somebody's life is over, but essentially their life is so different, and it can never be the same. She was beautiful. She was great, great person. But to have a bill of such importance named after her is a great tribute. But what these parents, and you know, you have so many of them, where they've lost a loved one to crime, but to this new form of crime, criminal, illegal aliens, it's massive. The numbers are massive, and you add that to the crime we already had. This shows the potential for additional enforcement bills that will help us crack down on criminal aliens and totally restore the rule of law in our country. I'm also eager to get to work with Congress on the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. We got to get that done. And we don't want to get hung up on the budget process. We just want, whether it's 1 bill, 2 bills, I don't care. Let these guys, they're going to work it out. They're going to work it out one way or the other. But the bottom line, the end result is going to be the same. We want to have all of those benefits. And we want to keep people's taxes low and actually make them lower. And that's not just rich people. That's everybody. It's, frankly, proportionately the lower scale, much more so than a higher scale. Not only must we permanently extend the Trump tax cuts, you know, if we don't, you're going to have about a 60% tax increase. But I also intend to keep my promises, starting with no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. We're working very hard to get them done, and we are. I went to Nevada just this last couple of days. Started off in North Carolina because I didn't want to forget the people of North Carolina were treated so badly by FEMA. And they came to me, they said, "Sir, you're going to California tomorrow." I said, "Well, what about North Carolina?" "Well, we'll do that another time." And I said, "No, we won't. I'm stopping in North Carolina first." And we stopped there. We met great people. Franklin Graham has done a fantastic job. He's done a great job, but others also. And I met people that were devastated. The Democrat Party with FEMA, their FEMA did absolutely nothing. And we have it worked out. Your congressmen are helping very much there. Your 3 Congress people are working very hard on that whole thing, along with...
Want to jump out of it is just a little bit delayed live coverage of President Trump. So not live, but delayed by a little bit. He's at Miami Doral. He's got, from what I can tell, Speaker Mike Johnson's there with him. You also have a couple of other members of Congress there with him. And then he's speaking on a big screen, it appears, to other members of Congress back in Washington. So pretty good stuff. He talked a lot about illegal immigration, the bad guys in shackles going back. Lake and Riley bill finally got passed by the House and the Senate. It looks like he probably will sign that Wednesday. Some reports are saying Wednesday. I think Jackie Heinrich over at Fox said that, so we're going to keep an eye on that. He definitely wants to get that into legislation. And it bears mentioning what he just did. And Sam, do me a favor, just monitor that. If he gets into anything else that makes sense, we'll jump back into it. Right now we'll stop, though. He mentions going to North Carolina. And what jumps out at me there, and I think some of you out there are quick enough to catch this as well, but if you didn't, that's not a problem. He says he was told, let's go to California. He's not, no, I'm not going to go there without stopping in North Carolina. Think about that. Basically, from Washington, D.C., if you want to go to California, you're going to fly over areas pretty close to Western North Carolina. I mean, not immediately over, but pretty close. Like Joe Biden flew over East Palestine how many times for a year and a half? Think about that. How many times did he get on planes and go to freaking Europe? He couldn't go to Ohio. Think about that. And Trump says, why wouldn't I go? What are you, crazy? They were treated horribly. We are definitely going to go there. And I think that it speaks volumes into what he wants to be as a president. He wants to be the president that got it done. He wants to be the president that people say, man, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, this dude did not play around. He wants to be the president that said, I'm going to go to Western North Carolina and find out what the needs are and find out how badly they were treated, and let's see if we can fix it. That is such a sea change. We talked about a few things that are just polar opposites of what we had for 4 years. For 4 years, you had a president in name who didn't ever talk to the media. I mean, the couple of occasions when he did, he was handed cards with their pictures, their names, and what they were going to ask him on the cards. Think about that. Trump did an impromptu town hall roundtable the other day in L.A., taking on people like the L.A. mayor, who's a far left-wing leftist Karen Bass, taking on people like the members of Congress from that area. And he sat there for, well over an hour, might have been 2 hours, just answering questions. Afterwards, answering questions. Anytime somebody lobs a question at this guy, he answers it because he thinks that's his duty as the guy that we elected to represent us in the White House. Whereas for 4 years, we weren't allowed to ask anybody anything. And if you did ask, you were shooed out of the room, you were shut down, you were censored. It's a world of difference. It doesn't matter if you didn't vote for him. It doesn't matter if you still lean left of him. It doesn't matter if you disagree on some policies. You have to be an honest person and say, you know what, at least we're getting some access to the guy. We're getting access to the executive that we just didn't have for several years. I like it. I want your thoughts. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, or joepags.com. Scroll down, click on contact. Make sure we'll hear from you on that as well. As I said, go to TikTok, it's Joe Pags, or Instagram, Joe Talk Show, X and YouTube, Joe Talk Show. Check out that video of Selena Gomez. She has taken the video down. I have it, and I posted it, and a lot of people are going and checking it out. It's about illegal immigration. Going to make your face hurt. I'm warning you, going to make your face hurt. When we come back, some sound bites with J.D. Vance about immigration, sitting down with Margaret Brennan on Face to Face over on the weekend shows, or Meet the Meat, or Meet the Face, or Face Your Meat. It might be that, Sam. It could be that one.
No, it's
not.
It's not? No.
Oh, what is it?
Face the Nation.
See, I just messed it up every once in a while. My bad. All right, so we'll have that when we come back, as well as your phone calls. Great to have you. Thanks. It's the Monday edition of the Joe Pags Show. Lots going on, lots to get to. Breaking news alert. Hat tip to MB. Moments ago, officials announced that Scott Bessent, I think it's Bessent, has been confirmed as the U.S. Senate, by the U.S. Senate as Treasury Secretary. So we've got a new Treasury Secretary. Now, how does that affect us directly? I don't know. But it's nice to know that another one of Trump's appointments got confirmed, and that's a very, very good thing. That's the latest on that. I want to get to some of the J.D. Vance stuff from yesterday. He sat down with Margaret Brennan over at Face to Face, and she asks him the dumbest questions, and then she has this look on her face like she got him. It's so weird to me. I like that he takes the interviews. I like that he sits down and he answers the questions. I like that he looks right in the camera and says, yeah, here's the deal. And he doesn't take any garbage. But her intention is not to gain information for the American people. Her intention is to show that she's somehow smarter than him, or that their immigration policies are bad from the Trump administration. None of it really makes any sense. Now, both she and Martha Raddatz, who sat down with Tom Homan over the weekend, both she and Margaret Raddatz brought up, or Martha Raddatz, this is Margaret, brought up the fact that the Catholic bishops or somebody all said that Trump's executive orders are horrible. And because you know that ABC and CBS really care what the Catholic bishops think on a daily basis. Now, they only care about it if it can feed a narrative that makes somehow J.D. Vance or Donald Trump look bad in their eyes, and it didn't work. But here's some of that.
Conference of Catholic bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
Well, let me address this. Of course, if you have a person who is convicted of a violent crime, whether they're an illegal immigrant or a non-illegal immigrant, you have to go and get that person to protect the public safety. That's not unique to immigration. But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their...
Exactly right. $100 million. But it doesn't stop there, because they both got sort of the email, hey, the Catholic bishops. So then Martha Raddatz brings it up on Face Your Face over on some other network, and you got Tom Homan sitting there.
You know that this creates fear in the immigrant community. The chair of the U.S. Conference of Bishops Committee said turning places
She just says Bishops Committee, but it is the Catholic bishops.
of care, healing, and solace into places of fear and uncertainty for those in need, while endangering the trust between pastors, providers, educators, and the people they serve, will not make our communities safer.
Well, look, here's I think. If Congress has a job to do, we're enforcing the laws Congress enacted and the president signed. If they don't like it, change the law. I find it hard to believe any member of Congress is telling us not to enforce the law that they enacted and they fund us to do.
But opening it up to anyone who's in the country illegally and going into schools and grabbing them, does that, kids, adults?
The message needs to be clear. There's consequences for entering the country illegally.
I'm going to stop it there, because when we come back, I'm going to play that entire soundbite. They both somehow heard about the Catholic bishops. Somehow, that's a really, really important thing. They both somehow know about the Catholic bishops and that they have a problem with this because, again, I guess ABC and CBS both get their walking and talking points from Catholics now, which is very strange. It's new to me. How does the Conference of Catholic Bishops feel about abortion? Will ABC and CBS highlight that? Probably not. We come back, that full soundbite, plus Selena Gomez crying about immigration. We'll take your phone calls as well, because it was a big weekend. Keep it here.
This is the Joe Pags Show.
It is your Monday edition. We've got a lot to get to, lots to talk about. I'll play that entire soundbite coming up. We did have AJ, but he left. Sam, what the heck? AJ left?
What the heck? He's probably working out.
That's right. He calls me during the work. He's like, I got to get in the machine while I can. We've got other phone calls coming in. 888. Not 888. That's the one number. The other number is 833-JOE-PAGS. 833-JOE-PAGS. 833-563-7247 or joepags.com. Go there, scroll down, click on contact. I kicked the bumblebee's nest a little bit over on X on purpose. And Twitter, the formerly Twitter, now X, run by Elon Musk, who bought it a couple of years ago, it is not a free speech platform. People keep saying that it is, but it's not. In fact, the algorithm over at TikTok is far superior than the algorithm at X. I believe Elon Musk got in there and he cleared out a lot of the restrictions on accounts for people that he knew and that he liked, that he wanted to prop up, including people like Don Lemon, who actually screwed himself over by acting like an idiot with Elon Musk. But I don't think he took any of the old restrictions off or the governors off. So I went back, and in 2022, the only time he and I ever talked to each other on X, he was talking, that he wants Trump to go away now, and I listed a list. I said, well, what exactly that he accomplished don't you like? And I listed everything that he accomplished, and he said, no, I agree, but do you really want a bull in the china shop? I'm like, yes. So now, of course, he's Donald Trump's good friend, and there are still restrictions on accounts like mine. Mine was restricted because I said hydroxychloroquine works. When it did, we had studies that showed that it worked. That got me suspended. That got me restricted. I was restored eventually. They never took the old legacy stuff off. So if you're going to say that it's a free speech or freedom of speech site, be that. Then again, remember, he said freedom of speech, not freedom of reach, which in fact means no freedom of speech. So I'm willing to call him out every single day until he fixes it, not just for me, but for everybody who's still falling behind that shadow ban wall, that ghost ban wall. The reason why I bring this up, because I would have just left it on X, is that people are attacking me for bringing up something that we discussed. I took a screenshot and posted it over on X. Why are you dredging this up? Oh, why do you have such a big ego? Oh, what do you want him to... No. Listen, I want it to be what he says it is. When I can only tell you a handful of conservatives that get steady virality and steady engagement on X, and the rest of us are still behind some shadow ban wall, and he's not willing to do anything about it, I will call them out every day. In a year and a half on TikTok, I'm about to hit 800,000 followers. Think about that. In 16 years, I'm not exaggerating, on X or Twitter, I've got 226,000 followers. Now, again, the content is the same. So you can't say, well, your content sucks. Well, you can say that, then you don't have to follow me. But the content, for some reason, on an algorithm not connected to X, works very, very well on what we know is a restrictive site like TikTok. TikTok is a censored site, no doubt. And somehow we're succeeding there. And then I hear all the praises and all the garbage about how great X is, but it's not. And it should be. It's just that simple. So if you're over on X giving me a hard time for posting something from a couple of years ago that actually shows that I was part of the red pilling of Elon Musk, Musk was a Democrat who didn't like Donald Trump. He said so in his response to me. If you don't understand that I was part of that and I still want these restrictions taken off, then you don't get what I'm laying down. This isn't about ego. This is about me saying 226,000 people decided they want to see what I post on X, and only 5,000 ever see it. The one last example I'll give you, then I'll move on. Okay? I posted the video of Selena Gomez over on TikTok. It's approaching 150,000 views now. At the exact same time, I posted that video over on, it's actually 150,900. Same time, the same moment. 1 minute later, I posted it on X. It's got 4,000 views. Think about that. 4,000. Posted it on Instagram. It's approaching 100,000 now. 4,000 on X. Now, for those of you who are sycophants for Elon Musk, who you're simping for him, or whatever the term is that kids use, understand this. I like him. I like his products. I like that he bought X. I like the promise of what he said he'll do with it. He just hasn't done it, though. Well, let's be honest. He hasn't done it. And that's what I'm talking about. All right. What happened, Sam? He stopped talking, then there's a commercial break, and he started talking again?
Yeah, so I thought the speech had ended because where I was watching on C-SPAN, it said, oh, broadcast ended. So I was like, okay, great, he ended. But for some reason, I just hit refresh, and he's still talking.
Come on.
I guess it was a commercial break or something. Yeah,
I didn't think C-SPAN did commercial breaks. That's weird.
All
right, well, we'll dip back in if it gets interesting again. But I think after he goes for a while, if he goes a couple of hours, he might curse. And at that point, we have to be careful taking it live like we do. But I do appreciate you hanging out. And again, over the weekend, the big story was immigration and rounding up really, really bad people who are here illegally. So let me bring you that soundbite again from Martha Raddatz at ABC questioning Tom Homan about how horrible it is. And the Conference of Bishops all said this is bad and people are scared and they don't want to go to church and they don't want to go to school.
You know that this creates fear in the immigrant community. The chair of the U.S. Conference of Bishops Committee said turning places of care, healing, and solace into places of fear and uncertainty for those in need while endangering the trust between pastors, providers, educators, and the people they serve will not make our communities safer.
Well, look, here's I think. If Congress has a job to do, we're enforcing the laws Congress enacted and the president signed. If they don't like it, change the law. I find it hard to believe any member of Congress is telling us not to enforce the law that they enacted and they fund us to do.
But opening up to anyone who's in the country illegally and going into schools and grabbing them, does that, kids, adults?
The message needs to be clear. There's consequences for entering a country illegally. If we don't show there's consequences, you're never going to fix the border problem.
Estimates are that there are 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country right now. How can you possibly afford to deport all of those people?
Well, I'll leave it up to Congress. I think Congress, the president has a mandate. This was the number one issue that people voted on. I think Congress has a mandate to give us money we need. What price you put on national security?
More detention centers?
What price you put on all these young ladies that have been raped and murdered and burned alive? What price you put on that? What price you put on Laken Riley's life? What price you put on national security? Like I just explained, when you have a surge like this, we don't secure that border. That's when national security threats enter the country. That's when sex trafficking goes up. That's when the fentanyl comes in that kills 250,000 Americans. I don't put a price on that.
Can't put a price on it. He's right. He's 1,000% right. How much money? Let me ask you something. If investigators are tracking down a criminal illegal alien who raped a woman or several women or killed somebody, and they're in a church or a school, should we not get them? I'm just wondering. Should we just leave them, hey, he's in church or school? Or do we get them away from the vulnerable who are at church or school? I think it's a very simple equation. I really do. I think it is a very, very simple answer. You go and get them. Doesn't matter where they are. And nobody's rounding up kids. None of that happened over the weekend. They're rounding up really, really, really bad guys. Now, for some reason, Sam, did you see this? Dr. Phil was with Tom Homan.
I saw that. What the heck?
No idea what the heck Dr. Phil's doing out there. He's questioning these illegal aliens. And by the way, the illegals that they have like dead to rights. One guy was a child sexual predator. Lied about it. Lied about whether he's ever been deported. He was in 2009. I mean, the whole thing, you're cleaning up Chicago, you're cleaning up L.A., you're cleaning up New York, you're doing the job that the residents want, and then somebody like the Chicago mayor, this Brendan Johnson dork, comes out and he actually tweets or puts out a statement saying, rest assured, Chicago, our police didn't help. What? Our police didn't help. I'm not sure I understand why you're bragging about that. As somebody said online, that's a strange flex. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, don't you want the bad guys gone? Nobody's going after, because you hear this all the time. Well, they've been here 15, 20, 25 years. They're great members of society. Nobody's got them listed to deport. We're talking about getting rid of the 10 to 20 million that Biden let in the last 4 years. That's who we're talking about. I'm sorry, he's dancing now?
Listen, you got in at the wrong time. But so Trump just finished up his speech, and he started shaking hands with the panel, including Speaker Johnson. And then he started pointing at the crowd, and then he started dancing.
Oh, no.
Dance.
And we missed the dance.
And we missed.
Darn it.
But that's just the energy that he brought.
A lot of energy, and he spoke for a good long time again. I don't know where the guy gets all the energy. He must be really hitting those caffeine pills, or maybe he's taking a lot of Diet Cokes during the day. But, man, that's pretty amazing. All right, it's 833-563-7247, joepags.com. More immigration. This is, again, Vance with Margaret Brennan on CBS.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people.
I mean, she's arguing with him. What he said is true. There was a plot that was from somebody who allegedly was vetted who was not properly vetted. His point is these people are not properly vetted, and she's actually being an advocate for those people who weren't properly vetted. It's weird.
Now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people
it's not
are vetted.
Good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my...
He's vetted. He's vetted. You hear she's arguing with him. I don't know why. Let him answer the question, then go on to your next question. You're not there to debate him. You're losing anyway if you are.
Children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
We'll be back.
Boom. Boom. I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country. Boom. Why is that an argument? I mean, that should be easy. And again, the entire time, they were vetted. They were vetted. Well, maybe that one. Well, that's a different case. Oh, you know that it could have been radicalized once he's here. What is she talking about? Ask the question, get out of the way. You look stupid. I don't understand. She goes home and has a glass of wine and says, man, I nailed that one. I mean, what is going on there? 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, joepags.com. 100% want to hear from you on this. We will take a couple of phone calls here. Maybe we'll roll this over across the top because we got so many people who've been contacting me all weekend about the illegal immigration roundup, and they're just confused about it, including Selena Gomez did not contact me, but we've seen the video now. I'll play that for you as well. It's going to make you go, what? All right, great to have you. Thanks. I appreciate you stopping by the Joe Pag Show. So again, big news over the weekend that Tom Homan and ICE were rounding up the bad guys and getting them out of here. All of them criminal aliens who have committed many crimes in this country, allegedly. Many of them actually convicted, so it's not even alleged. So getting rid of them and putting them in shackles makes perfect sense. Somebody, I think, told Selena Gomez they were putting children in shackles or something, which, of course, they didn't do. That doesn't make any sense. Margaret Brennan doesn't realize that she had her ass kicked on this interview on Face to Face yesterday and goes after J.D. Vance with the old line that you can't go after the immigrants, you can't get rid of the immigrants, and no matter what they broke the law or not, doesn't matter if they're good or bad, because we're a country founded on immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country
This is a
founded
unique
by
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
Damn. He's right. Doesn't mean we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world. Yes, he's exactly right. And by the way, after the top of the hour, I will play that audio and video from Selena Gomez. It's just off her rocker. I don't know what the heck happened to her, who got to her, and why she acted like this. She has since taken the video down. Don't worry, I still have it. Let me go to the phone line. Edward, Floresville, what's going on? Hi.
Hey, Joe. I'm actually listening to you on Joe.com, JoePags.com.
Appreciate it, brother. Let's
we
go.
can't get you over here in Floresville.
Well, I appreciate you following me, my man.
Well, as far as the convention of cardinals or bishops, I would give them 2 grains of salt as to what they thought whenever their holy city is surrounded by a friggin' 30-foot border wall.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You don't have a dog in this fight.
I couldn't agree more, but you see, the media is always ready to jump on it if it serves them well. Keep in mind, Catholics don't want abortion. That's not something the media would talk about. But because the Catholic Bishops Association that gets $100 million a year because they said we're against this immigration policy, the media jumps on it. It's kind of weird.
What they need to do also, Joe, is they need to start putting taxes on repatriating dollars outside of America to other countries.
Well, I agree. I think that Trump talked about it the first time. There was about $1 trillion that they were trying to bring back in, and they were going to make some sort of a tax deal to get it done. Edward, listen, thanks for following me on JoePags.com. We appreciate anybody doing that. If you can't get your radio station, if you're out of the car, away from the radio, whatever, JoePags.com, click on Listen Now or Watch Now. Between 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern Time is when we do the show live. That's how you do it. We appreciate Edward doing that. Rick, St. Augustine, what's going on?
Joe Pags, my man, we did it. We got the election.
Yes, sir.
And now we cannot fall for the same type of rhetoric and things that they've used in the past. They've got nothing, and they are reaching. They are panicking. They are going to use everything they can to smear us. Oh, it's children. It's this. It's that. We need to just focus, just like he said. I don't care. I'm following the law, period. That's it. That is it. Because what these people are going to do, they are going to do everything that they can to try and keep what little power they have, and they know it's the end if we keep going in the way that we're going. I went down to get my driver's license, and it was hell to get my driver's license. And I'm an American citizen, born here, raised here, worked here, and I thought, oh my God, I have to go through all of this mess just to prove myself.
Right.
I really hope, Joe, that there is going to be a task force that really looks at these documentation, because this is the next step they're going to do. They already know they're on their way out.
I got it, Rick. Incredible conversation. I do have to end it because we're almost up against it. Those of you watching and listening know we've got a hard break at the bottom and at the top, so we have to let them go. Rick, very good comments, and I don't want there to be a log jam at the DMV. I don't want it to be hard for you to get a driver's license. I don't want anybody to go through any sort of extra hassle because there are so many people here illegally. And if it's happening in the great state of Florida, where you are, and again, great call back again. I just didn't have more time than that.